Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the new thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit. It is Friday the 13th. Oh, that's a good. And we're going to talk about the Epstein files. It's going to be a bad day for some people. It already is. So, but top story today, and I think the one that's probably going to be all over the socials this morning, the U.S. government failed to continue funding for the Department of Homeland Security last night, leading to a partial government shutdown, which means all those ICE agents that haven't been getting paid for the last 3 months, you're not going to get paid this week either. So, a lot of these guys, Z, they're going to quit and go home because they got to start feeding their families. If they haven't been paid for 3 months of mercenary work, you got to find a way to feed the family somehow.
Oh, man, that I chuckle because of the mercenary title. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, when you look at this, it just reeks of all kinds of miss everything. You pick a word and put miss in front of it, and then that's what this whole thing is. Yeah. Mismanagement, misgovernment, misunderstanding, misinformation. I mean, for us to continue to get to a point to where the government has to be shut down or threatened to shut down every 4 to 6 months or whatever it looked like it is now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so now I haven't followed them too much, but I know they're pulling out of Minnesota, right?
Yep.
And that may be because people are walking off the job saying I gotta pay. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how they do it. If one of the wealthy compadres of this current administration said, "Look, I'll pay them. Just pay me back, or take their tax write-off, or whatever." But it's interesting. Very interesting.
Rumors are swirling that many of these so-called agents, I'm still going to call them mercenaries because a lot of them were employed by the DOJ, and we do have now proof that there are at least one ex-January 6th rioter who was convicted and pardoned by Donald Trump is working in the DOJ. Pam Bondi admitted to that in her failed attempt to bully Congress the other day. But these guys, many of them, the rumors are saying they haven't been paid in 3 months. Details are now coming out that all that they've been promised, and many of these were promised a $50,000 signing bonus. Many of them were promised forgiveness for student loans. And now it would appear, and reports are coming out that those contracts are contingent upon 5 years of service with ICE, which would put us at 2031, and nobody really believes Donald Trump will be alive, let alone in the office by that time. So all these guys have been conned. They've all been conned to go out there and play Call of Duty in the streets of American cities that we know are not the problem. I saw a post this week. It said, "What about Boynton Beach, where all the illegal Russian immigrants hang out? Why isn't there ICE in Boynton Beach?" Somebody else said, "Why isn't there ICE in Boston, where all the illegal Irish immigrants hang out?" These guys are going to pull out, and in their wake is going to be a lot of suffering and a lot of pain for a lot of people. Including themselves, when they find out they've been conned and they can't feed their families.
Yep. And I mean, again, we've mentioned it before, and we'll probably mention it for the next 3 years, is that the diversionary tactics that are being used to keep the populace in a state of shock, right? And just not going beneath the surface. I mean, just slipping the gears a little bit, just thinking about, and that's because it affects our dear state of Colorado. They had the governor's meeting, and the two governors who were not invited to dinner was the governor of Maryland and the governor of Colorado.
Yep.
Which, one is a black man and one is a gay man. I mean,
both Democrats.
And they're both Democrats. And it's just blatant I'll say favoritism or unfavoritism and cronyism and all those things that are taking place in this government. And like we were saying earlier, they're giving Trump all these accolades about the economy and all that, but that's, there are a few normal people, if you will, benefiting from that, but that's the guys who got big money, who can move 100,000 shares or 10,000 shares of a stock to really make some money. So, right. We need to wake up as a people and see that we need to come together now more than ever to get back to some normalcy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Amen. We do need to come together. And I think we need to come together to get rid of Trump. Plain and simple. We need to come together and get that man out of office, because between him and his cronies, his regime, I saw a report that one of the European leaders has referred to Trump and Putin as the wrecking ball of democracy. Basically putting the two of them directly in line with each other, and using wrecking ball politics. And that's what he's doing. Yesterday's move against the Environmental Protection Agency opens the door for big oil to be more abusive. I'm starting to see more and more ads in my feed for clean coal and alternative coal energy and all these things that cannot be good for the planet, number one. But I think the biggest FU of the week goes to Pam Bondi and her just absolute disgusting performance in the face of women that survived Epstein, in the face of in Congress, and her attempts to bully Congress. And I mean, when does a sitting Secretary General come to a congressional hearing with a book of hit pieces? She had her binder of opposition research, and she spent more time attacking the people asking for accountability than she did providing accountability, and then claiming that this was the most transparent president in history.
And here's a thing that happened, and I forget which senator it was, but they had gone in to see the Epstein files under a supervised kind of place, and they recorded everything she looked at, and she came in there with the name of that person on a folder and some of the stuff that she'd looked at. And it's like, well, where is the privacy in this? And you know, this is not, as you just said, any way near transparency. And so what are we doing? Again, now you know, I mean, if you know the tactic, they're going to go find some counterpoints to whatever point she looked at, if you will, and then so now there's going to be a back and forth around that, and it's just ludicrous.
Yeah. Hey, but in the good news world, Bad Bunny performed a wedding last week to record-breaking numbers on the Super Bowl halftime report. And that wedding was real, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was a real wedding. I found a story that the couple that he married approached him a while back and said, "Hey, we know this is crazy." And they didn't expect a response, but they sent a letter asking if he would perform their wedding. And Mr. Bunny, I don't know how we address it, Bad Bunny, he responded back and said, "I'll do you one better. How'd you like to get married at the Super Bowl?" So he went and got himself an officiant certificate. And in the state of California, where the Super Bowl was, it's not very hard to become an officiant. So he became an officiant so that he could marry them. And that was a live wedding in the midst of the Super Bowl. But, the Republicans want to clutch their pearls and are demanding that the Department of Justice investigate this Super Bowl for lewd behavior and pornographic images and bad language. And my thought is, if you can't understand the language, why are you worried that the kids watching could?
Hey, it for me, it made me go double down on my Duolingo language learner.
Exactly.
So I'm on a little streak, and I'm just kind of continue it.
Yes, I agree. I would think Duolingo probably saw an uptick this week as well. So, but hey, I did find an interesting, probably the most interesting news story yet to come out of the Olympics. For those that aren't paying attention, the Winter Olympics are happening in Milan, Italy, excuse me. And lots of highs and lots of lows, and prayers to Lindsey Vonn and congratulations to Dewey for winning the women's downhill and all. But the most interesting story I found is of a Slovakian man who was arrested while attempting to attend a hockey game. Now, he's arrested because he's been a fugitive from the law for the last 16 years. For a crime that he committed in 2010. The penalty for that crime was 11 months and 10 days in jail. So this guy spent almost 16 years, over 15 years on the run for a crime whose penalty is less than a year. Something ain't mathing up there for me. I don't see spending that long looking over your shoulder trying to dodge the police when you could have just done your time and been done more than a decade ago. But criminals don't have an awful lot of brains, I guess, when it comes right down to it.
or they think they have a superpower. I'm not sure what the heck they got going on, but it's crazy.
Yep.
But one thing that's I'm always excited about space, and anything to do with space. They launched a rocket and they put 4 more guys, or I'm not sure who the crew was. I have to go and look at it. I think it was just yesterday they launched from and sent 4 people back to replace the ones who had to come down early.
Yep.
So now they have a full complement of the crew up at the space station, and the work continues. They continue to do the work, and and coming up real soon, right behind that, space is getting a lot of news here lately. There's going to be sometime in March, if they don't cancel the launch again, they're going to put 4 astronauts to go around the moon, and they're going to do the dark side of the moon and go around there. And they say they found ice, so this will intensify the race to go to the moon, because they're looking at that as a launching pad to go in other places,
right,
in space. And they're looking to take that water, if it's actually there, or the ice, and turn it into hydrogen to use it as fuel. And to top it off, Elon Musk says moon is the place to be now, not Mars. And so his whole thing is, his strategy is shift from Mars to moon. So look for a lot of news reels coming up on the moon and launching and all that. It's going to be exciting.
I perhaps it is time to go back to the moon. Yeah. I have a hard time trusting anything Elon Musk says these days, but that's just my little bias there. I think, and this is, to me, this is part of the bigger question that's kind of out here right now. Is I can forgive people for being human, but I need to see that there's some desire to be forgiven, and that there's some work being done to be forgiven. So Elon, I think, made a big ass mistake getting in bed with Trump at the beginning of this term. It's hard to believe it was only just over a year ago. I think Elon made a huge mistake getting into bed with Trump, and okay, SpaceX does good work, and we're going to hear people say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and yada, yada. Mm-hmm. But I want to see the man really prove his contrition, I guess. I want to see some atonement. I want to see him make some changes that show me he's worthy of that type of forgiveness. So we know it isn't going to happen again.
Yeah. Well, and I had a conversation with a friend just the other day, and we were looking at all things human, and the nature of life on this planet is evolution, or change, or transformation. Pick the word that you resonate most with. But as we continue to grow and get more information, hopefully that information gets transformed into knowledge and wisdom. But right now, it appears that it's just people are taking the information, because we're in this information age, if you will. We've got it at our fingertips, and there does not seem to be any approach to holistically look at it and make decisions based on that, and then transform. Right now, it is, as this current administration says, information has been weaponized. Yeah. And that's how they're using it. You look at the Epstein case, you look at the shutdown, you look at the whole thing that was in front of the Congress the other day. It was just my information and your information. There was no sense of trying to get some understanding, in my opinion, of what the heck is going on and who's in, who's out, so to speak, and all of that. It's pitiful.
Yep. It is. And right, to me, there's a push-pull here too, because I don't want to weaponize information, but I don't want to gloss over it either.
No.
Right. We found out this week that David McKillips, the CEO of Chuck E. Cheese and CEC of CEC Entertainment, is their parent company of Chuck E. Cheese, also Peter Piper Pizza, stepped down over his involvement with Epstein. And the top lawyer for Goldman Sachs, Kathy Rummel, Rumler, sorry, has resigned her position with Goldman Sachs over her involvement with Epstein. And a Republican congressman made a statement this week, I forget which one, that if everybody in government that's in the Epstein files was removed from office, there'd be like 3 people left in the Donald Trump administration. All right. Pam Bondi has even said that the system would collapse. And I'm kind of at a point of let it collapse. We've got this mythical creature called the Phoenix, and the Phoenix isn't reborn until it burns. And I think we're at that collapse societally, because our Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, directly testified that he had no further relationship of any kind with Jeffrey Epstein, and we now know that was a complete lie. We have mountains of evidence that our government can't be trusted currently, Republican or Democrat, that those that wield power at the highest levels of some of our greatest companies are dirty as all get out, that those we have looked to for spiritual solace and direction are in the Epstein files. And I'm kind of at a point where it's time to let the system collapse so that something better can be rebuilt, so that something more not just beneficial, but something that is built on values again. Our country, I always thought, was built on a set of values. And it turns out the only value we have is sex and money, and maybe drugs. I saw a quote here this morning. I haven't checked this, but it says, yeah, RFK really said this. I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. That should not be a badge of honor.
No.
Yeah.
That's the wrong kind of transparency, right? I'm just saying.
You're right. Yes, it is.
And here's again, I'm a holistic kind of thinking guy, so systemic thinking, system thinking. And when I look at the pieces of this system, like right now, they are preparing, and let me step back. The president wants to be seen as the president of peace, and he wanted the Peace Prize, and the lady from Venezuela gave away her Peace Prize. But behind the scenes, right now, the USS Gerald Ford aircraft and its armada, its protection crew, is headed to the Middle East. Right now,
saw that this morning. Yeah,
and for those who are not familiar with this kind of stuff, right? The Gerald Ford is the most advanced aircraft carrier the Navy has. Right. And it's set to join the USS Abraham Lincoln and its strike group, which is already there. Right. So we're going to have 2 of the most powerful aircraft carriers. But the thing is, and their strike group, right? There are other little ships that go with them. They don't go out there by themselves. There are other ships. They have these aircraft on them as well. Yep. So we are putting ourselves a heartbeat or a short breath away from being into a real serious conflict.
Yep. You don't just move an aircraft carrier. This is not a game of Risk where you just move your aircraft carrier. You move 6 or 8 armies over here and 10 or 12 over there and leave a couple here to guard that territory. This is real life consequences.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Trekkies that have their that are all concerned right now because in the original Star Trek canon, and God, I pray Gene Roddenberry was wrong about this one, but in the original Star Trek canon, World War III starts in the summer of 2026 and lasts like 35 years or something like that. The new Star Trek Academy is out on Paramount, raising all kinds of hell, and all the Trekkies are up in arms about this newest version of Star Trek. But back to the point I think you made earlier, human consciousness is an evolutionary process.
Mm-hmm.
Human life, human existence on this planet is an evolutionary consciousness, and that means forward motion. We don't evolve backwards. Right. Monkeys become apes, apes become humans. We're not going backwards. And unfortunately, our president and his people seem to think it can go backwards. I mean, the man won't even apologize for the video that, right? They tried to play it off. What's her name? The airhead, the one with no brains whatsoever, the scarecrow that talks every day, even said that, oh, it's just a depiction of the movie The Lion King. There were no apes in The Lion King. Go watch the movie. There were no apes in The Lion King.
No.
Putting the head of one of our most unreproachable, Obama's like the cleanest guy ever, and to put him and his wife's head on apes is not only ludicrous, but it signals the audacity that they have to say, we're gonna go back, we're gonna take you back to the Stone Age, we're gonna take you back to a time when my white supremacy was allowed. We're going to take you back to a point where America was a white Christian nation. And when I have friends that are saying, buy up books because they're going to come for the digital records next, people that are highly spiritual folk that are concerned they're going to try to erase anything that's non-white Christian.
Mm-hmm.
We got to step up. We got to start shouting it louder and louder and louder every week. I think that the emperor not only has no clothes, the emperor has no soul.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, and granted, man, this is a complex, intertwined universe we live in. Just in this short amount of time, we've talked about government and space and sports and human relations and I hate to even make, there was another shooting at a university at South Carolina State, and it's like, yet we continue to promote the guns and it's like, at some point, some group of someones, if you will, has to see this and say, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And it seems to be going in the other way. Either they're turning a blind eye to it, or they're just pumping their fists and railing at the machine.
Yeah. So we have to find hope in some way, shape, or form. Every one of us, I believe, is being called to look at these atrocities in the face, not to bypass this, not to say, oh, it's all good, not to say it'll get better, just sit around and say it's going to get better, but to actually be vocal in our opposition to it. I have to believe that hundreds of thousands of Americans calling their senators and representatives daily, The staffers at Lauren Boebert's office are probably really tired of hearing my voice at this point. And that's okay. And I've actually gotten through to a live staffer more than a few times now. And you can kind of hear the frustration in their voice when they listen, but you also hear them smile when I end with, and I hope you have a blessed weekend, man. And I hope you have a better day. And I hope that, because there are real people out there, and those are the real people we have to reach. We have to reach the real people that have been conned into thinking they're going to get a $50,000 signing bonus and their student loans are just going to magically disappear. We have to get into the hearts and the minds of the people that still think, hey, the president rapes children, but have you seen the numbers on the Dow lately? Like, we have to find a way to get to those people that listen to that crap and don't think to themselves, my God, she is so full of shit. And I think we can.
Yeah. I mean, we look, now is the time for all good men and women to stand together to create a better union and a world that works for all. Everything, the planet. I mean, we just rolled back all of the EPA stuff in terms of carbon gas. I mean, that just happened the other day.
Yesterday, yeah.
We're sitting here, and this is what I was talking about earlier about the information we have. We have tons of information that says we cannot continue to do this or we will destroy the planet. And in face of that, we're still rolling back things, not just in this arena, in government and everything, that is undermining years of information that in some people's vernacular has not turned into knowledge in terms of how we operate and move in the various arenas of life. And if we, as the people who see that and know that, don't take a stand some kind of way. There's a place on the football team for everybody, from the person who's the trainer to the water boy or water girl, or all the way to the general manager. Everybody on the team has a part. We all need to find our parts and play it.
Yeah. Yes, we do. I don't know what more needs to be said on a Friday morning than get out and play it. Right? Get out this weekend and play it.
Yeah.
Be part of the solution. Be part of get outraged. And be outraged. But let that outrage be the fuel that drives us towards a solution.
Yeah.
Got another No Kings March coming up on March 28th. Plan now to clear your calendar for Saturday, March 28th. Another No Kings rally is happening across the nation. Good men and women are stepping forward. And I have to believe the tide is turning. My understanding is we're only 2 votes away in the House of Representatives from being able to impeach Trump again. Not that it necessarily will do anything, but it'll signal that more and more good people are starting to say the emperor has no soul. And we need a government run by the people for the people. I think I heard that somewhere along the way, right? We need a government, again, that is not run for just the corporations. We need to repeal Citizens United. We need to change and shift the vision that our leaders hold for how, and you just said it, and Sharif, we borrow that from Sharif Abdullah, creating a world that works for all, rather than just creating a world that works for those with money and power.
Yeah.
and a proclivity for young children.
Yeah. And you know, I think as we look at, you know, this weekend and the continuing news cycle, let's look for an uplifting moment, right? Let's look for a moment and trust that there's something we're going to see that's going to inspire us to jump in, to do whatever it is. Talk to a friend, call a relative, call a senator, call a congressman, call a city councilman.
Run for office.
Run for office, right? Have meaningful conversations about issues that are important to you.
Yeah.
Whether it's education or, you know, food insecurity or whatever it might be. Because the more we have conversation, the more we allow ourselves to look at these issues from multiple points of view to get a more holistic understanding of any problem, which is always seated that everything is connected, then we begin to think that way. We think systemically, and we begin to act systemically, and we begin to ask questions that are relative to the wholeness of things. And inevitably, we're going to come out with a better answer. We're going to come out with a better solution, or at least come out with a better question to figure out what's next.
Yep. Amen. Well, folks, I do believe that's about it. So thank you for being with us here this morning on the New Thought Media Network. This is Ministers Talking Shit. We come to you every Friday morning right here with, I was going to say the news you need to know, but maybe not. Maybe it's just the news we feel like talking about. Like our intro video says, we talk about whatever we want to talk about here. So, but you're welcome to join us in the conversation anytime. Leave a comment on any of our programs. Check out past episodes on our YouTube channel. There's a complete playlist of all the ministers talk. And we've been doing this, 5 years now, Z? So, going on not quite 5. I think it's over 5.5 years actually at this point that we've been doing this show. So I love you, my brother. I'm grateful you're with it. You're here, and we'll be back again next week, folks. So until then, let us wish you peace and absolute richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.